knows which ones to include in his sets until he sees who is there. Could you please help me welcome the marvellous Clive Oseman?
Choice. I could be a great writer like James Joyce, but you bastards would just laugh at my voice. I could write a novel like Robinson Crusoe, create comic characters like Inspector Clouseau. I would still be constantly traduced there. If I asked you to listen, no one would do so. Because all you can see is my weak points and faults, my characteristics not being the default for a human being of my size and bulk. First impressions count for more than results. It's really upsetting and more than annoying. It's totally fucking soul-destroying. So if you see me huddled in a corner crying, you're partly to blame, there's no denying. Because you're a bolshy bastard with a tiny dick, with fewer brain cells than a selfie stick. I think your mom slashed your head with a brick, and your breath smells so shitty, it makes me feel sick. So fuck off, wanker!
I'm not childish at all, as you probably just noticed. But talking of children, children's characters, you see them on the telly, you see them in comics and whatever, and they're all wonderful people, aren't they? You know, they've got no faults and they're absolute heroes. But the truth is, once the camera's not rolling, some of them are absolute bastards. And this is the true story of some of them. It's called Possibly Unsuitable Children's Stories. Humphrey, the chunky West Country monkey, had uncomfy rumpy pumpy with the grumpy Humpty Humpty Dumpty. Andy Pandy was feeling randy, but Miranda Panda wasn't handy. He got turned down by sexy Sandy, who branded him as Namby Pamby, so Hand Shandy was fine and dandy. SpongeBob SquarePants had some bants with a man from France, but the man from France started to rant and at a glance produced a lance. Poor Bob cracked, cacked his pants, and ended up in an ambulance. Postman Pat had a secret stash of lots of smack and crack and hash. He was a very brash chap who got into scraps when out on the lash. And only his cat knew he was EDL fast trash. Tom and Jerry got very merry on a bottle of sherry and jumped on a ferry to County Kerry. Tom felt a rumbling in his belly, Jerry's legs turned to jelly, and he ended up in Peri Peri. Rupert the bear had a bit of a scare. He ripped himself open on a broken tray, and they tried to stuff him with Donald Trump's hair. The glare he gave them said, "Don't you dare. I'd rather be dead than have any Trump in there." And Stormy Daniels agrees, to be fair. All children's heroes have an alternative story, some full of glory, some pretty gory. And what they never told you on Jack and Ori was Peppa Pig's grandma got shagged by a Tory. Right, before the next poem, I'd just like to express my thanks to Oooh Beehive for booking me tonight. When I opened that email I'd sent myself asking for tonight, I was absolutely over the moon because I thought I'd never make it, you know. So it really put me in a good mood. So yeah, the next poem I'm going to do is about the special relationship between us and the USA. And it's called, surprisingly enough, Special Relationship. Bigoted bullying, ever fully compass mentis, we should worry, no Eisenhower, drunk on power, Trump Tower, golden shower, backstabber, pussy grabber, king of senseless jibber jabber, racist branded, hand shanded, losing eats his brain expanded, lucid moments, very fleeting, incoherent, childish tweeting, worthless punk, piece of junk, bidly waste of daddy's spunk. Simpleton, moron, orange chump, total foxdom, Donald Trump. Boris Johnson, full of nonsense, idiot at party conference, bally arsewipe, yikes and cripes, Jesus Christ on a Boris bike, zip wire, pants on fire, serial cheat, habitual liar, hair as scary as the Trump, Tory members took a dump, loud disturbance, rumours rife, another night of domestic strife, number 10 is in the bag, quite the place for a crafty shag with someone's wife. Oh, what a wag, duplicitous, disgraceful fucking toe rag. Thank you. Yeah, of course, I needed to get that one in tonight because obviously, you know, Trump could be out on his ear next month, and although that would be a great thing for the world, it'll be a tragedy for comedians and satirists and poets. Whatever happens, I mean, obviously he's supposedly got COVID-19 now, and so has Melania, and there's a lot of speculation that actually that's not true, and you know they're faking it because the polls are not particularly good for them at the moment. And of course, I don't know the truth of the matter, whether it's fake or not. But there's one thing I would be absolutely certain of, and that is that this is not the first time that Melania has faked it for Donald. That's all I'm saying. Right. Okay, so my next poem, it's not a parody. You might think it is because I am known for doing parody things. This is not a parody, but I think every poet should have a poem called If. You know, at the end of the day, if it's good enough for the hard man of poetry, Rudyard Kipling, then it's certainly good enough for me. So this is If. If I were your hot water bottle, I'd burst as you were dozing off. I would become a Bolshevik if I thought you were a Romanov. If bacon is a killer, then I will cook you breakfast. If I see much more of you, I'll earn a prison sentence. If I were God, I'd go to hell. I would. If you were God, I'd go to hell. I would. If you were Satan, I'd be really good. If you were Specs, I'd rather squint. I'd be pneumonia, were you Gustav Klimt? But you're the boss, and I need the money. So my nose is brown, and your jokes are funny. Thank you. Right.
Based on true experience.
Of course, the one type of poetry that lends itself to humour is the limerick. And I've written many limericks over the years, some of them okay, some of them absolute shit. But this, I think, is my best. I think this one has everything a limerick should have, and it goes like this. There once was a ginger-haired Brummie who couldn't get the hang of poetry, so he went on a course to learn how to rhyme. What a waste of fucking money that was. Thank you. Thank you. What happens when you've got a pile of poems in front of you that you've been writing over the last 3 or 4 years, and none of them are going to make the grade? You know they're shit. You know they're going to go in the bin. You're never going to perform them. And, you know, it will be an embarrassment if you do. A bit like some of the ones I've done so far tonight, but they just got passed. But in these poems, they're absolute rubbish. There are 1 or 2 lines in each that you like. And they either amuse you, if that's what you're trying to do, or they're very, really profound, which is definitely not one of mine. So what do you do with them? Well, you just throw them together and make a poem out of those lines. And this is how it goes. And this is called Melting Pot. So get ready for magnificently funny poetry from Robert Garnham, who's on after me. Olive O'Seaman, as you would see in the subtitles on BBC. I write like a total amateur in iambic pentameter. Some say I rhyme just for rhyming's sake. I say bollocks to that. Cake. Roses are red, let me be your lover, because I lives in Swindon and you looks like my mother. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. My autobiography is 1 shade of grey. This is a melting pot of thoughts, making, well, a poem of sorts, from the best bits of rubbish I had to abort. I slung them together as a last resort, an afterthought to make people laugh, the poetic equivalent of a very loud fart. Dominic Cummings went to the gym and on the walk home was flexing his biceps. All of a sudden, he got run down by a driver undergoing an eye test. What a shame. But it's okay, I gave a false name. So you could be bemused and sitting there feeling that these words flung together have no real meaning. But words are like people, and the world can be rotten. The stupid or weak are quickly forgotten. But if they can be organised and brought together, they can be stupid with power and go on forever. Like a Tory government. Thank you.
Woo! Woo!
Right, the next one is new. I performed it once at Finn's. I actually wrote it especially for Finn's Poets from Space thing a week ago, but I didn't have time to do it properly because I'd written it, I'd been at work and I just popped in and read it in my own voice, which was no good. So this is called Space Poets.
No poets in space, that's insane as I am a poet from right up Uranus. I won so many slams, I'm universally famous as the greatest poet from up Uranus. You never heard of me? Typical planet Earth, so fucking full of your own self-worth. But Earth poetry's even worse than Mars, so stick your poetry up your arse. If you did the interplanetary slam and got drawn against Saturn, believe me, your teeth would be totally flattened. And Pluto, you morons, is a planet. But dear, oh dear, they've got no poets. Earth is shit, but Pluto's below it. There once was a poet from Venus, had a haiku tattooed on his penis. Then trying to catch him, he went around flashing, exposing himself as a genius. But Neptune, I've been to all three and won't go again too. The people are stupid, their thoughts are not lucid. They've no hope with Cupid, because their privates smell putrid. Be careful, they're after Uranus. Uranus, 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 Uranus. Be careful, they're after Uranus.
But yeah, be careful because they are after Uranus. And have you ever heard an alien with a Brummy accent before?
No!
I'm universally famous. Yeah, right, okay. So, but it did make me wonder that if obviously there is life somewhere out there, who knows where, how many billions of miles away, but whatever life there is, I wonder on whatever planet if the dominant species is frequently bugged by flies or anything equivalent. I mean, fucking flies, filthy, fucking horrible things, a bit like Villa fans. So it can't be nice to be a fly when everyone hates you and you don't know why. They try to twat you and make you die when you settle down to eat their pie. Their heartless actions make you cry because they're important and you're just small fry. But you're too fast, the blows don't hit. You bust to safety and think for a bit, then settle on a piece of shit. The thought of it makes people sick, but they're just bloody hypocrites, because if they examine the pie and what's actually in it, that's a metaphorical dollop of shit. And we all eat in the burger chains, not caring what the food contains. You'd be just as well off with fly and chips, followed by some Blue Bottle crisps. That would make you lick your lips with a Mac in front of it. And nutritionally, it's just as good. You can have some cockroach cake for pud, get a free toy to give to the kids, and tell yourself you're loving it. Thank you. Right, the next one. I have to apologise to several people before I do this. I know it hurts. It always hurts to apologise, but there's a lot of things in life that I'm not very good at. Lots and lots of things. The list is very long. And two of them are accents and impressions. And now I'm going to do some accents and impressions. So any apologies to all those people who are going to be offended. And this is called Open Mic in Aston. And just for those who don't know, Aston is an area in Birmingham, and I'm from Birmingham, so that's why I love it so much. So even though Aston is not exactly a lovable area, you know, but it's in Birmingham, so it'll do. Right, picture the scene. A cold, wet, Thursday night. There's an open mic at a grotty pub in Aston, and who should rock up but Her Majesty the Queen, dressed in ripped jeans, trainers from George at Asda, and a t-shirt with the slogan, "He's no son of mine." She's driving an Eddie Stobart truck, which she uses to ram cars out of her way to claim the best parking space. She covers her head with a Primark bag to protect herself from the rain, as she would. She walks into the back room where the action is and steals the mic from Simon Armitage, who popped in to test his new limerick and have a swift drink and maybe a spliff. Thankfully, the moment was recorded by an open micer, so have a listen. It will delight you. Thank you, thank you. Blimey, I don't know what they put in my beer, but I'd swear the Queen just walked in here. Any road up. Next up to the mic is Simon. This is Simon's first time here, but he says he's had an illustrious career. He's had severe writer's block, but now feels ready to rock. So please give it up for Simon Armitage. Thanks. There once were a boy born in York who grew up with a sword made of pork. It stood up by its sen, so he panicked and then tried to puncture it with a fork. Get out of my way, Armitage! You're my fucking laureate, so do as it's told and sit down, and that was rubbish! Whoever heard of a pork sword? Dick? Yo, posse, now listen, motherfuckers, because this shit's real. I'm here to launch a charity appeal. I know a man who needs plastic surgery to change his ID as a matter of urgency. I would say he's sweating on your support, but apparently he can't do that no more. So if you can chip in with a few £1,000 to help him escape the baying hinds and give him the certainty and the knowledge that he can pick up his girlfriend from her first day at college without ending up doing a stretch of porridge, then that would be sick, bro. I would ask Philip, but he's a dick though. Oh, bollocks to this shit show. Fuck protocol. I live on paracetamol, a headache caused because of the pressure of being royal. Now, I didn't want to be disloyal like Harry, but before I leave this mortal coil, I want to do the normal things with all the fun and joy that brings. I want to work in a call centre and enter into a bit of banter. Do you know who I am? I would say. Now, wouldn't that make some commoner's day? I want to live in a council house, decorate the West Wing and rent it out. In fact, fuck the collection. A commoner's life is my intention. He can work in a sweatshop to earn his money. No, Alanis, dear, that is fucking irony. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll now just take something from my sore throat. Right, I've got two more. The first one's relatively new, although a lot of you will have heard it because I've been performing this a lot. And it's called The Bigger Issues. Because some people seek answers to big issues like the meaning of life or what happens to us when we die. To them, my issues are small fry, insignificant in the scheme of things. And I have to confess that stings because I may not be intellectual. My grey cells are somewhat ineffectual when deep thought is deemed essential. But to me, the small things matter more. Like, what are wasps actually for? They get mildly angry and it's all out war. You try to repel them and they sting you to fuck. They do it one more time for luck. They show no compassion, not one little bit. The barbarous, pointless, stripy shit! When I want to appear clever, I step it up a level and ask questions like, if music be the food of love, are cheese quavers an aphrodisiac? Is there such a thing as cheese semi-quavers to give a quick thrill? And if so, toss one my way if you will, because on the subject of food, does a fruit fly count as one of your 5 a day? I have my dates, but if it does, I can ditch the sprouts because they're not veggies. It's a well-known fact. They are Beelzebub's scrotal sack. And it's not just food that fascinates me. Other things I need to know include, is a really hard Englishman in Australia called a pomegranate? If I wrote a book on the history of censorship, would they ban it? Is David Icke for real, goddammit? If a group of crows didn't mean to get together, are they a manslaughter? Do water polo players ride seahorses? Are you lot bored stiff or is it rigor mortis? If you buy a wok on the internet, is it an Ewok? And when it arrives, are you in for a shock? And here's the thing, will the first non-binary monarch be called Their Majesty the Queen? When they assess the age of a dinosaur fossil, is it even remotely possible to know if it used anti-aging creams? Calculations could go all to hell if it used those products by L'Oreal, because you know the adverts, they can't be lying. But the question that concerns me most may come as a surprise. If you stick your head down a toilet, which is not very wise, do you get floaters in your eyes? Thank you. I've always wondered about that. I haven't had the nerve to try it, but...
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Right, I've got one more, and you'll be glad to hear. And this one divides opinion somewhat. It was an experiment. Some people seem to think it's hilarious, and some people look at me as if to say, when did you stop taking your pills? So we'll see what sort of crowd we got in tonight. It's called Taking the Pee. But today, for some bizarre reason, there's a ban on the use in verse of the letter immediately before Q. They say using sh instead would do, with a real sh becoming a to avoid confusion. I was almost ashlektic with rage, but then I reached the compliance stage, embraced the concession and gave it a go, though what she says me, I'll never know. Shonny meant the failing to comply is a shoke in the eye with a particularly unpleasantly harsh, jointed stick, and any form of censor makes me sick. I tried to write about wacky races and Chanel Shitstosh, who drives the Copshack Shussy Cat, but that didn't turn out to be much cosh, and the showing about Showsman Shat made me sound a bit of a shrat. So then I thought of politics and its various arseholes and shrieks, and soon realised Cameron's Brexit gamble was about shower within his sharty. But at least he won't be remembered solely for being the Shrine Minister who sliced his shriek in the mouth of a shig. Then I thought of my A to Z of politics, but soon decided to give that a miss. I mean, Charlemagne charalised by a charity Shrine Minister, Englishlands, chandering to shish shots and schlonkers, promoting practically social shash shorts. Makes no sense, does it? But it's probably better than sheeta shish to shake of shickled Cheshires, so the rest of that can shit off too. The word hishoshotamus becomes quite shoshostrous. Ambles becomes really quite it. When you get that, my granddad was sent down the shit at a very young age and stayed an absolute shittance. He grew osh to be a bit of a shithead, and no one was ever pleased to see him, especially after he contracted the shocks. Now, I think with a bit of shit and solid, this showing could be quite a cum-sleep. Unless I mention how I slay the violin better than Shaganini in his shrine. Talk about the pituitary gland, or how I love Indian food, particularly shoshadons and shitta bread. And one final thing. Sharks will fly if this showing ever gets schlagerized, which I realise is probably unlikely. And the schlagerist who makes this mistake will be shanced or shone, shosh his clogs, and meet St. Sheeta at the Shirley gates. Now, wouldn't that be a shittyful aim? Right, I did say that, didn't I? So, yeah, a couple of things to say just before I go. Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, I have got a book out called It Could Be Verse, published by Black Eyes Publishing UK. And it's really good. It really is. I mean, I've read it from cover to cover and everything, and, you know, it's perfect. And reading cover as well, which is worth the money on its own. So please do buy that, either from me directly or through Amazon or from your place of choice. And also tomorrow night, if you like what you've just heard, then I'm headlining at Crafty Crows tomorrow night. If you don't like what you've just heard, then don't worry, because I'm doing a completely different set tomorrow night with a lot more stuff. So either way, come along. And if you really, really, really hated it, just send all your friends. Tell them I was really good. Watch me tomorrow, just as a punishment. So thanks a lot. And I will now stop hugging the limelight and then you back to Chloe.
Please join me in giving it up one more time. Bye.